All right, what up, everybody? We are live, Sports Ethos NFL Today podcast. We didn't promo this one because we brought it together last minute because it's so secretive that it didn't need any promoing. I got my man Nathan Hernandez here. He's been diving into running backs. We talked about, what did we talk about? We talked about rookie running backs. We talked about backup running backs. Now this is the main event, the stake, the Hero RB. Very popular strategy. Also, there's also Zero RB, but Hero RB is making a comeback. Nate, you just wrote a big article on it. We're going to publish it tomorrow. What's going on?
Yeah, just was able to take a look at all the top running backs that are going in the top two rounds of this year's draft. I think all of them, you could argue, could have even an outside chance of finishing the RB1 if they get a few things to go their way. And I was just trying to break it down and see who has the best chance and who might be a little bit more riskier than might be worth that draft capital.
Okay, great. So we're going to dive in. But first, everyone, if you're on Twitter, come over to YouTube, drop us a comment, drop us a like, drop us a subscribe. Check out Twitter at Fantasy NFL Sports. I can never remember it.
Ethos Fantasy
Yeah,
NFL.
I need those fantasy NFL. We got our Discord is gonna be popping off. We're gonna be doing Q&As. You can drop a question on Twitter. I'm doing threads every other day. We're dropping an article every day. So you got to check out the Fantasy All Sport Pass. It's going for a discount, but not for long. Okay, there's the promo. So what are the main stats? What were you pulling from? What are like the three-headed dragon of stuff you were really looking at?
Yeah, so I was looking at team yards per carry, team's run block win rate, and team run play percentage from last year, and looking at any potential coaching changes that would have came through, any O-line movement that would have happened between bodies leaving, retiring, added in the offseason draft, whatever it may be, and just seeing how things shook out. It might last year, it might change given the whatever turnover they had.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I was gonna say, what about just rushing yards and touchdowns? But no, we've pretty much moved past that. So let's just talk about the kind of the strategy in general, because I know historically running backs kind of are a little more volatile, right? They just get hurt, whereas wide receivers are more kind of durable. But last year
Mhm.
that flipped. I think it was like the healthiest running back year maybe in history. Can you even name a star running back that went down?
Oh man.
Pacheco.
Yeah, he was pacing. I think he would have been right there if he had stayed healthy. He had 80% of the snaps week one. He was a workhorse until he got hurt.
Yeah, but and then wide receiver, it's like okay,
Yeah.
Nico Collins went down, Rasheed Rice went down. I mean, Amari Cooper was washed. Help me here.
Um,
CeeDee Lamb was hurt kind
oh
of all
yeah.
season. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, T Higgins,
Both
but he
there.
always plays 12 games. I mean, it's crazy. So I don't know if that's maybe flipped or it's an outlier, it's a one-off, but I just think, especially we've talked about the wide receiver position is so deep this year. Like
Mhm.
there's these guys from like 80 to 100 I just love, or 60 to 80 that range.
Mhm.
So Hero RB I think is making a really strong comeback. What are your just thoughts on the strategy in general?
Yeah, I think the big thing is that running backs are a lot more steady and consistent with their role. You more often than not, you know who's going to be getting the heavy workload of touches each week in, week out, especially with these top guys. And receivers, it's so volatile. Anyone can score any given week that you can pick your matchups and play it that way versus having the guy who's going to get the steady volume out of the running back. You're getting yourself a floor that you kind of can't predict as much with receivers.
Okay, right, kind of like with Jordan Addison last year, right? He's going off for 3 touchdowns, 180 yards, and then Justin Jefferson's sitting there, the best wide receiver in football.
Hmm.
So what's the best running back who's got the best backup? Just to throw you right with like Saquon, Kenny Gainwell, but he's nothing. Bucky Irving, maybe Rashad White. I
Hmm.
guess it's gonna be Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery, right?
Yeah, I think that's the clear cut. Scanning through. It really just goes down to the Bucks with Rashad White and even Sean Tucker. But really, everyone else in these that I discussed in the article doesn't really have a true anyone fighting for their touches. They're just fighting for the reserve role amongst themselves.
I guess maybe Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. Is that more of a 1A 1B? Do you think at this point?
Yeah, I don't know that Walker has the ceiling to get into like the top. 3-5 range with the offensive line there.
Okay, that's smart. Okay, so and then just before we dive right in, so just the strategy. So do you like going running back, or wide receiver, running back, or I mean, I'm at the running back tight end part of my research.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you in that. If Bowers is there in round 2, I'm taking him. And if McBride is there at the back end or at the front end of 3, I'm taking him for sure. But after that, I'm going running back, running back. Just something about just locking in guys who are supposed to be starting the whole year that have 300 fantasy point seasons well within their reach if things pan out. Um, and just looking for spike weeks elsewhere at receiver. You got the whole rest of the draft to, like you said, find guys who are going in the 13th, 14th, 15th round who are going to be could have the chance to be the leading receiver on teams.
Okay, so let's go though. So I'm looking at last year. We had Barkley, Gibbs, Henry, Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, 1 through 5. Right? Is that kind of the model going forward, or do you see is anything jump out at you based on changes in the offseason, ages, guys coming in that might?
Um, if CMC gets really is getting a healthy season here, it's hard not to put him in that conversation with the top guys. I'm less inclined to put Genty into that conversation this early, but with CMC, when he's healthy, he is the RB1, and it's been solely reliant on health.
Sure. I mean, I think what did he have like 100 more points than the next best fantasy player 2 years ago when he
hmm
scored like 21, 22 touchdowns?
Yeah, so in the 5 full healthy seasons he had, his rookie year is the RB11, and then 2018 RB3, RB1 in 2019 and 2023, and then RB2 in 2022. So
Okay.
he's pretty much a top 3 running back guaranteed if he's playing a full slate.
So okay, let's talk CMC. I had my big money $1,200 buy-in draft last year. I had third overall pick. He fell to me, which I didn't even. I was like, "Am I taking Brees Hall or Bijan?" And then I just had to take him. I wasn't even prepared to do it, but I was like, "You get him at 3, you take him," and then he ruined my entire league. So I am once bitten, twice shy. I can't take him, but so
hmm
where is he now? He's around what
He's
16th?
he's the RB4 right now, and he's right now in best ball. He on underdog. He's moved up to an ADP of like 8.9, I believe. So he's
Oh,
going 8th or
really?
ninth overall right now. Yeah.
Holy.
He started out kind of neck and neck with Henry at the start of the summer, and then he lapped him and lapped Genty and lapped some of those receivers too at the back end of the one.
Okay, so the argument for taking him, dual threat, great at scoring, right? Stacks everything, but he's been a usage monster, right? I think what you probably have it. What was his snap percentage in the 2 years ago?
I don't have it in front of
Okay,
me.
that's
Sorry.
but it's probably 70, 80%. I think they would be crazy to do that again, especially they got Garendo, who looked
Mhm.
very competent. That they're going to probably ease him in, maybe take him out of games when they're up because they got an easy schedule. I'm being devil's advocate here. I mean, if I'm a Gianti or CFC, I'm taking Gianti. But
Mhm.
so give me the comparison for the both. Do you have nine O lines?
Yeah, I got
What do you got for me?
both of them. So they were actually pretty close, or the in run block win rate. The Raiders actually were ahead of them slightly. They were 22nd, and the Niners were 24th. But
Both
the
not very great
Raiders,
though.
yeah, the Raiders though were just so bad at every other rushing metric. But they also underwent the most drastic makeover this offseason, but more than any team. So on one hand, you could also, if you wanted to throw that out the window,
Andre, Jesus.
um, if you wanted to throw the Raiders last season splits out the window, I understand. They were 30th in run play rate with just 35.7%. With and the Niners were at 44.5% at 13th. So it's a whole 10% more of their plays are going to the running back in uh,
San Francisco?
in San Francisco.
Okay. And
Um,
then also we had Trent Williams out for the back half of the season. He's
mhm.
got to be up one of the single most important non like skill players to a rushing game in the entire league, right?
Yeah, and as a team, the Niners still were tied for 7th in yards per carry with 4.7 on the year, and Meanwhile, the Raiders were dead last with 3.6, and I think they were far and away the worst. I don't think anyone was under. I think one other team was under 4.0 yards per carry.
I think I thought the Rams probably were because Kyron sucks. Browns, I think, had a decent. This is a fun game. I'm usually asking the questions, not answering them. So it's always easier when you have the answer. Yeah. Miami, whatever. Okay, let's move on. So Raiders, let's talk Raiders a bit because you said they had a massive overhaul, right? They bring in Pete Carroll. They bring in Chip Kelly, right? I think I was doing some more. Chip Kelly loves targeting his running backs out of the backfield, right? They're going to play at a high tempo. The Raiders already targeted the running backs good last year, but if it's a new whole coaching staff, it doesn't matter. Do you have anything for me? Maybe Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, anything?
I don't off rip.
Sorry,
I'm
I
sorry.
shouldn't put you in the spot. It's okay.
No,
You don't have
it's
to
all
have
good.
everything.
But I was 100% on the same wavelength though. I expect him to run the football first, and knowing that, I think you could easily project them to run 10 to 12% more run plays this year.
Yeah, probably if not more. And I'm pretty sure Gino likes to target his running backs too. But where was I going to go? Oh, because rookie running backs, it's like they're so sexy this year. But I mean, okay, I did Bijan. What do you think? Do you know what Bijan finished as a rookie? He was a first round pick, I assume, in fantasy. I think.
He was
No. This is me asking. I know the
Oh,
answer.
sorry. Oh, okay. I don't know. Sorry. But I don't know. But I know he got the usage right away. I believe to get there. If they ran a little better.
Yeah, but I think he was the RB9, and then Gibbs was the RB10. But because Bijan there, and Algier was getting a lot of work too, right? And he got some touchdowns. I think they were both close to 1,000 yards. But I don't. Do you know that? What's the best rookie finish somebody's had recently? Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky was the RB. No, well, he was worse than Bijan's rookie season. He was the RB14 in fantasy points last year. I think he missed a few games though too, and Bijan played all 17. But yeah, I think that Genty's for sure a prime candidate to shatter the fantasy football rookie season record.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's a good bet. Okay, so let's talk about Barkley, right? He's the big, sexy. He was the monster last season, but I think he had 480 touches or something crazy.
Yeah.
I think historically, right, the guy who's the best fantasy, they almost never repeat. There's just a lot of kind of metrics he's on the cover of Madden. Where are you? Are you taking Barkley number one because it's like CMC? If you get the best version of him, you're set.
Yeah, I believe so. It's hard to argue against the volume he gets, the efficiency. They're they lost. They only lost Mekhi Becton. They didn't make any additions this offseason to their line. But they should be talented enough as far as the depth goes for them to restore their league leading offensive line. And that's just it though, is that line and the efficiency, the volume. It checks all the boxes for what you want in a running back prospect before the season even starts.
Sure. So, I think Brandon wrote about the Philly did the team preview. He's saying the defense might slip a bit because I think the Eagles they had one of the highest run pass splits. Run heavy. They threw I think the least passes in the league. I don't know. Maybe they'll try and maybe pivot to more balance, keep some ease off Barkley. Like that season's probably a one off, but if you get 80% of it, you're cooking.
I will say, sometimes I find myself clicking Gibbs and Robinson over Barkley. Few kind of on that same length that Brandon was going. They lost Kellen Moore to the Saints, their OC, and they promoted their passing game coordinator to the OC. So maybe there's a chance that they favor passing a little bit more with the defense slipping a bit. That would help, give him an agenda to push to not run it to Barkley 30 times a game.
It was like when the Bills they promoted their QB coach to OC, and all he was doing was having Josh Allen just throw deep routes all game. I forget the guy's name, but they replaced him. They went run heavy last season, and Allen won the MVP. So okay, so Barkley, you're not must buy. So let's go zero. Let's keep moving down the list. So who's next?
Bijan is
Bijan.
next on the
Okay.
list.
So we got a great O line. We got an easy schedule in the division. We got a
Yeah,
young QB that they kind of want to take some pressure off of. He's not mobile, but is there a knock on Bijan's also one of the best pass catching backs in the league?
yeah, he was. I think the only knock really against Bijan is he just lacked a little bit just from a yards per carry standpoint, but up against these other guys. But he's getting so much volume in the running and the passing game, it makes up for any sort of uh, misstep there.
So
I
we're
do have
talking
a
4.8 versus Henry 5.9, Gibbs 5.6, Saquon 5.8. Yeah, it's like a yard off, but those other marks are crazy.
mhm. And I have a note here. They did lose their starting center to Chicago, who was like the fourth best rated run blocking
Oh wow.
center last year, or maybe it was interior lineman. Either way, he was really
Yeah,
good.
no one will remember his
Uh,
name.
it in 3 games with Penix at the end of the year, he averaged what was it, 25.6 fantasy points per game, and their run play rate was at 45.6% on the season. And then in the 3 games with Penix, it jumped up to 49%, which would have
Nice.
been good for the fifth highest rate in the league if they had ran at that rate all year.
Isn't that so weird? Did they bring back the same OC?
I believe so.
It's just weird that they would have had Kirk Cousins off of Achilles and would have thrown that much. It's not because their defense was actually pretty good last year. Like they were in games. It's just that's what's so funny about stats, right? Sometimes the eyes and the stats tell you different things. So
hmm
why wouldn't I take Bijan first overall? Right? He's super young, right? We're coming third season in his prime, indoor games, which is good. Bijan RB1. There we go. What's the knock, right? Are we worried about Algier? What are we? Where's the
Um,
ceiling?
in the in a sense, he just has a few things going against him. It's just like just the overall success of the offense, right? Like the Falcons are more likely to, if Penix isn't that guy, they don't have the same security that the other top running backs have in like guaranteeing that their offense is going to be run well and quarterbacked well as well.
Okay. I
Um,
mean, I'm just looking at. Do you know what his longest run of the season was?
I don't.
Only 37 yards, right?
Okay, yeah, that checks out, and that would explain why he's not his yards per carry doesn't rival the other guys on the
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, we got 20 plus rushing like plays. Barkley 17, Gibbs 13, Henry 19. Bijan, how many 20 plus rushes do you think he had?
Like six,
Five, right? Isn't
five.
that's crazy? Because all I see him is break tackles, beat people in the open field. He's fast, so it's just that's maybe I don't
Some
know.
something to look at for sure. Maybe his receivers aren't good blockers. Maybe his linemen
Hmm.
aren't getting to the next level. Whatever it may be. But at that point, I guess the proof is in the pudding, in that he's not, whether it be breakaway speed or what I was saying about the blocking not hitting its peak. He's just doesn't have the same access to home run plays that the other guys do.
Okay, well, my man Matt Carmody says Bijan RB1, so I mean, it's 2 versus 1. So okay, let's keep going. So who do we got next? We got Derrick Henry. What is it?
Uh,
He's what
uh,
29?
Actually, Gibbs is right behind
Oh yeah, okay, Gibbs. Okay, Gibbs. I was
Bijan up
yep.
front. But
So Gibbs,
uh,
we got Detroit had the best offense in the league. It was like 33.2 points. They got a great run pass split, but Montgomery starts games. I had a bunch of games where I'd bet big Gibbs' rushing yards to be like 77, and it'd be 3 minutes in the first quarter, and he'd had like 2 rushes.
mhm. Yeah, Gibbs also is kind of in that same boat where he has this untapped potential that we won't really know without get Monty out of the picture. But as long as Montgomery's healthy, he's going to be on the field getting touches. Um, and in the 3.5 game or the games that Montgomery couldn't finish, Gibbs averaged 29.3 fantasy points per game, which is essentially just winning your week outright sometimes, just
Yeah,
by
he went full God mode. It was ridiculous.
I in a 17 game average on those splits, he would have had 2,600 net yards, 77 catches, and 35 touchdowns. He would have scored 500 fantasy points if he played a full season without Montgomery. But they
So
did. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's what I like. That's like the penthouse, right? There's floor and ceiling, and then there's like the crazy supernova that some guys can tap into, like
Mhm.
Jamar Chase when he goes for like 3 touchdowns, 220 yards.
Yeah.
So with Gibbs, but like let's say you draft Gibbs, would you want Montgomery to get hurt week 1, or would you let's say you could, or would you rather maybe he gets hurt week 12 and then you get that back half of pure Gibbs without as much risk?
Probably the back half, just to guarantee that you're getting him
Pseudo
for the
guarantee.
fantasy playoffs.
Yeah.
To to be locked in for um 25 fantasy points per game on just a low
At the
ball.
floor almost.
Yeah. I would probably take that because there's always the concern that he could get overworked and injure himself in the process. They bring in somebody else, whatever it may be. If
Right?
it's that
Yeah.
early.
Some of these guys thrive in a bit of a timeshare, like Devon Chain, right? His rookie year, what was it? What did he average? 7 point. We'll move on to him, I guess. 7.1 like rushing yards. I think last year he was like 4.6. It went down huge, but I think he was the best for receiving, running back in the league, so he's still elite. But he had under 1,000 yards rushing,
Mhm.
which only him and Kamara in the top 10 had that. So what do we like with the chain? Like Miami's got a pretty bad offensive line. They lost Taron Armstead. They kind of like to pass, but that's fine for a chain. But Mostert's gone. They got Jalen Wright. Where are we at?
Yeah, I think Achan kind of made lemonade out of lemons last year with how bad their offensive line played. He was able to pivot and become like of all these guys, he's the most dynamic route runner, I believe, out of the as a receiver because they line him up in the slot. They'll have him do routes out of the backfield, and he can actually catch the pass and run with it. Um, and because he can do that, he feels safer than other picks in the sense that he has proven that he can still turn in an RB6 overall finish in a bad like RB environment. Um, and and we saw the untapped the penthouse ceilings that he was able to hit his rookie year. And it's just a matter of can he put it all together and turn in those elite, you know, week winning performances along with keeping that receiving role that he developed last year.
So do you? I heard on a pod people said a chain with who's their QB when Tua got hurt is the backup Baltimore guy.
Tyler Huntley.
Yeah, Huntley. He averaged like 5 fantasy points per game, and then with Tua in, I think he was like the RB2. It was like backed up to 26.
Hmm.
So if you're drafting a chain, you're almost also drafting Tua. So that's like we got the injury risk of Tua, and then the chain's also tiny. So that's almost a double.
Yeah, that's a good point. This offense has seemingly lived and died with Tua, and I'm not confident in Zach Wilson being a trusty backup to
Is that the
to.
backup now?
I believe so.
Why not go get Kirk Cousins? Like just go get you could get one of these old guys. Like how do you not have a backup for Tua?
Yeah, it's puzzling at this point given the track record.
Like Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have gone to Miami.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so do you a chain? Where's his ADP is what right now?
He's in the middle of the second round. I think it's like 17.1.
So are you buying him? Because for me, I would want to look at the schedule because we have Tua is he's just terrible against these good teams. Like I wouldn't want to go into. I'm trying to think of a good rush. Maybe the Jets, right, in week 15 and something. Cold worry about that. I would have to check the schedule if I was going to back him. But where are you at with the chain? A chain.
I'm kind of just steady. I'm pretty much at average on my best ball portfolio. Not going heavy on him, but I don't want to be out because he can be the RB1 for sure. If if he if he plays with Tua the whole year, where does he finish? You know.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. And if the O line improved, like they were one of the worst
mhm.
running teams in the league last year, right? They were
Yep.
pass happy. That it was a season from hell, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, Tyreek, Waddles, yeah, Jonnu. So okay, and everyone raves about Mike McDaniel's that he just adding stuff every year. So if he's in the lab in the offseason, if I see a blurb where it's like McDaniel's reinvented the run game, then I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy in. Okay, let's go. Who's next? We got big boy Derrick Henry.
Yeah, moving down the line. He's sitting at the back end of the or the front end of the second round right now. Um, the Ravens are putting out the same exact offensive line as they did last year. There's no reason to believe that Henry should slow down. If he didn't last year, he's just the same case as every other running back. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. But if he's on the field, he's an RB1 every week, bar
Yeah,
none.
I mean, I think he's the only running back in history that went to a new team close to 30 and improved his yards per carry. It went up like 1.4.
Yeah, it was. That sounds right. I have it somewhere. Sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah,
But Henry will fall off. Like he isn't LeBron, right? Like so. Would you rather? My thing is I'd rather be early than late. So if I'd rather give up on him a year early than get him a year late. But I got him last year and it was great. And the workload's big, but it's not like he's getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage. It's a lot of him propelling forward. It seems just like the contact isn't as rough as it was in Tennessee when he get just gang banged at the line of scrimmage all the time.
yeah.
Isn't that right? Ravens, they're a run heavy team. I think I saw Lamar didn't have any runs inside the 5 last year.
Yeah, and that's another note too. Like even if he does lose a step, let's say he's still probably one of the best goal line backs you could have on your team ever. It's hard. Like he could easily be a kind of guy who just reworks his game and becomes a pure goal line back that gets 60 rushing yards a game. If that's your floor with a 31-year-old running back,
Is he 31?
you might be 30, but 30 or 31.
Right, that's just right at the cliff, right? Half of my stuff I write about this age cliff, right? Wide receivers. It's like I'm just out on all of them. Devontae, Tyreek, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, obviously Tyler Lockett, Keenan Allen. I'm out. Cooper Kupp. I'm out. But so Henry's tough because it's just freaking nature, generational talent. Lamar. We've seen defenses they're focused on stopping Lamar from running, and they let Henry go for 6 yards because it's the lesser two evils. And then Henry pounds through for 40 yards late in the fourth for a touchdown. That's like 10 points right there. So it's tough. Okay, who else we got? We got to wrap up shortly. So we didn't even get to any of my stuff, but I love talking running backs.
Next, Jonathan Taylor.
Oh,
Definitely an interesting one. He kind of just felt like an afterthought compared to these other guys. And I think that's just because of all the Anthony Richardson back and forth last year. But they have a great offensive line. They were fourth in run block win rate last year. Tied for seventh in yard per carry, sixth in run play rate. The offense should operate like they should benefit from just consistency at the quarterback position. If Daniel Jones ends up being the guy and can just be a steady presence in the offense, I think he could do wonders for JT. There's obviously if Richardson gets healthy and he is able to mimic some sort of just draw the defenses away like Lamar akin to Henry. There's that upside there. And yeah, he averaged over 100 yards rushing a game. Didn't play full season for the third straight year, but it was his most full season of the three. Seemed fully healthy. No real competition for carries.
right. Oh, and so how old is he? He's got to be what, 27 maybe?
I think he just turned 26.
26, right? This guy was the number one running back in the league a couple years ago. And he hasn't really slowed down. The O-line's great. Whenever I play Madden, I like to do the Colts and I just run to the left. Who's the Quentin? Is it Quentin Nelson?
Yeah.
Right? He's just trucking guys. But I think Taylor went 6 games without a rushing touchdown last year.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Do you have the splits with Flacco versus Anthony Richardson?
Not in front of me, no.
Okay, that'd be good to read because Daniel Dimes is kind of a combo of both, right? Right, he's a mobile QB, but he can also throw. But JT not a great receiving back, but he beasted late. I think was he the number one running back in 2 of the fantasy playoffs weeks?
I'm not sure. I'll double check real quick. Sorry.
Okay, I'm just throwing stuff at you.
Yeah. RB1 16 and 17.
Right.
Had 40 points in week 16, 27 in week 8, 17 and 16. Sorry. Yeah, just finished the year strong. Yeah.
So is it tier? Do you see it tiers of like there's what maybe the Barkley, Gibbs, Bijan, and Henry in one tier, and then it's like Taylor, Chain, but CMC maybe floats in his own tier.
Yeah, CMC is kind of a unique bet because you're betting on him to stay healthy more than you're betting on him to be good, I guess. I guess you could say that about
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
But
that's true.
it's just a unique the risk there feels a lot heavier. But it's baked into his cost, I feel like. Um, but I agree. Tier break for sure. The top three, and then I'd put like CMC and Henry kind of in that 1B uh, range, and then jump down. You got Taylor, Achan, and I'd even slide up Josh Jacobs and Bucky Irving into that group.
Okay. We'll leave them. We'll leave a little for the imagination. So what about handcuffs? Because I think it's some term everyone's familiar with, and it's always get the handcuff, but it kind of just fell to the wayside, and then last year brought it front and center, right? If you I don't like if you drafted Jordan Mason and you had CMC, you weren't even that upset. But
Hmm.
if you drafted CMC and someone else got Jordan Mason in the 12th round, you were giving them daggers.
Hmm.
Are there any good potential handcuffs with these super studs, and how mandatory is it you get them?
Yeah, I think you lean more in favor of the ones who might be able to carve out a weekly role to give you some sort of floor and to be able to see how they run with the football. So guys like Algier, Montgomery, of course, is the prime candidate. Garendo we saw run well last year. And there's, like you said, there's the potential for him to even work in. Maybe they start giving him a drive on his own to take the load off of CMC, and get him some sort of like a 60-40 split with those two. That's potentially there. Um,
What about my man Keaton Mitchell? Right, he 2 years ago he burst on the scene late in the season. I think he was like 6 yards a carry, tears his ACL. Last season's a bit of a lost season. Now we got Henry 30, 31. Regardless, he's getting close. Justice Hill's still there, but like Keaton Mitchell, I blurbed about him today. People are raving that his speed's back. He's ready to go. Would you, if you were in a draft, would you target Keaton Mitchell only if you had Henry, or would you take it as like a house insurance for your neighbor?
I would be fine taking depending on who's left. I would be fine taking a flyer on Keaton Mitchell late because we saw him when he gets the football, he could explode, and his speed is at another level. And you're drafting him as the backup, not Justice Hill, right? Because Justice Hill is kind of a unique receiving only third down back.
Sure, generally, yeah, yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think he's just one of those players who could just be lightning in a bottle if they get the keys to an offense.
For sure. My man Matt says Jordan Mason, great cuff this year. We talked about Mason on the previous pod, right, with Aaron Jones.
Mhm.
I mean, he's maybe what is he a top three backup running back target? Would you say, considering Jones's age and injury history?
Yeah, he topped my list because of the ADP, but he's for sure relative to cost. He's a great pick this year.
Yeah, he's been growing on me. Okay, we got to wrap up. So thanks Matt for the comments. We love it. Thanks for anybody watching. Remember, jump over to YouTube from Twitter generally, so you can ask us questions, like, subscribe, comment, give us the whole thing. Twitter, what's the Twitter, Nate?
Nate H714.
Yeah, and what's the Sports Ethos one?
Ethos Fantasy NFL.
I can't remember. And then check out our Discord. You can always DM me, ask me sorts of questions. I'm posting stuff every day. We're all over it. Nate, any nugget you didn't get out that you wanted to?
No, just keep an eye on the article. And yeah, just
All right, nugget
soak
free.
in
Yeah,
some
we'll
of your
be
RBs.
posting it and promoting it tomorrow. You'll only get the full thing if you are a subscriber. Otherwise, you just get a taste. So until then, till next week, hopefully we're having Rick Hamill on the show, and I'm gonna throw a bunch of questions at him and try and trip him up. Problem maybe. Okay, until then. All right, thanks guys. Thanks Nate.